Alright everyone, welcome back again to more Umineko. And just like any of the episodes prior to this one, at the near critical point there's always more upsetting yet depressing things to come. But of course there's always something else, like a silver lining at the end of the tunnel, or a light at the end of the tunnel if you will, and we'll see more of that as we continue on. So if anything else guys, I hope you all continue to enjoy. Thank you again for the love and support, and let's continue on. Alright everyone, welcome back.
お父様が私に心に片翼のわしの紋章を刻むことをお許しくださったからです。私の心臓に刻まれた紋章と名誉をあなたの証拠とアリバイとやらはどう否定できますか？できません。私の心に刻まれた後ろ宮家の紋章は不滅なのです。
Now that Natsuki and Beatrice had practically been placed in the guillotine, they cried out with all their strength of their determination. However, they did nothing except bring a cold smile to the game master Lambda Delta's face. Erica had constructed a truth that Lambda Delta could accept, and no one could construct a more convincing truth to deny Erica's. In that case, the most convincing truth would swallow up everything else, and become the one and only truth, even if it happened to be different from the real one. The truth of those in the past is swallowed up by the truth of those in the future, even if that truth is a fiction, as long as everyone acknowledges it to be true.
よく吠えること。私は魔女が火あぶりになるときは命乞いを泣きわめく子が一番好きよ。あんたみたいな虚勢を張るのが一番興ざめなの。だからその虚勢を打ち砕く赤き真実を私からの最後の贈り物としてあげるわ。
何ですか？よせ。ベルンカステル卿、もはやそなたの望んだ真実で上書きされるであろうが、その真実と夏日の真実は相入れるはず。汚さないでやってくれ、頼む。
夏日、金蔵があんたの心に片翼のわしを刻むことをいつ許したっての？あんたの妄想の中の金蔵の言葉でしょうが、それは本当の金蔵はね、生涯ただの一度もあんたを心の底から信頼したこともないし、あんたに紋章を許そうと思ったこともただの一度もないわ。
When that heartless announcement was made, Kinzo stood up.
夏希、耳を貸すでない。そなたの心に刻まれた紋章は誰にも汚されぬ。そなただけのものだ。後宮家の最後の当主としての誇りを永劫に忘れるな。夏希！
やかましいわ。消えなさいよ。夏日のゲロカス妄想。
消せぬぞ、我が魂は。夏日が心に紋章を刻み続ける限りな。
この嘘つき幻想が、本当の金蔵はそんなことを言わないわ。消えなさい。夏日によって美化された、夏日にとって都合のいい夏日の中の妄想の金蔵。
うわ
Bright red flashes of lightning smashed Kinzo over and over again as he screamed. Then he crumpled like a doll and sat back down in his chair as though nothing had happened. The fierce emotion had left Kinzo's face. He had truly become like a wax model, and so he would never again share kind words with Natsuhi. Yes, the true Kinzo never once trusted Natsuhi during his entire life. The true Kinzo never once thought about allowing Natsuhi to bear the one-winged eagle. Although it doesn't deserve repeating, Kinzo had already passed away before the game began. The Kinzo appearing in this game was nothing more than Natsuhi's delusion. Everything about this Kinzo who believed in Natsuhi and entrusted her with protecting the family honor was an illusion, created by Natsuhi.
哀れな女。後宮金蔵の信頼を生涯得られなかった真実を今こそ正視しなさい。
What a way to break her. She's already suffering enough and now you go and do this?
夏日、泣くな。そなたは金蔵に後宮家を託されたのであろう。
Why don't you just break her even further and tell her that the Beatrice of present is not her Beatrice. In fact, it's just also what you call an illusion that she created, right? It wouldn't surprise me. No, he didn't. Not only did he not entrust her with that, he never said hello or met her gaze even once. Natsuhi's cry, a mixture of sadness and many other emotions, echoed throughout the cathedral. Natsuhi could no longer stop her tears. Some last faint element that had cheered her up until today, that had allowed her to endure as an Ushinomiya, as the wife to the head's representative, and as the final family head, had been torn to bits. Natsuhi no longer had anything left. Natsuhi could no longer allow herself even to call herself an Ushinomiya. The difficult days, the painful days, the days where she still gave everything she could for the family she'd married into despite it all. The rare happy days that existed among them. All of these flitted through her mind one after another, and disappeared. All of those beautiful memories, now crushed by Burncastle's red truth, smashed into tiny shards that scattered everywhere, buried themselves deep into her hands, and soaked them red with the blood of sorrow. It was the red of sadness and truth.
以上です。ただ事件がそこに存在するだけで、フルドエリカはこの程度の推理が可能です。いかがでしょうか、皆様方。
Lambda Delta clapped. Then, a little later than expected, Burncastle began to clap as well, looking satisfied. You know, if Battler were to step up right now and tell Natsuhi that since he's the new head, and that he believes in her, and that she deserves the one-winged eagle, you can kind of bring her spirits back up. The expressionless wax figure-like audience followed suit, and the unshakable verdict was welcomed with great applause. And so, the truth of this tale was decided. Right now, no humans exist on this island except for those in this parlor. And with one exception, it has been shown that none of them have committed murder. And the culprit is among these people.
おいおい。となると、決定的じゃねえか。
魔女が犯人で、魔法で殺人を犯したわけでない限り、ね。あんたなの？あんたがジョージを、主人を殺したの？どうしてよ！どうして！
私は殺していません。私は何も。
In a panic, and with a voice that really couldn't be called flowing, in a manner that was, to put it coldly, unsightly, Aunt Natsuhi denied the suspicion placed upon her. However, there was no longer any way around it. The girl stood up, brushed back her long hair, pointed at Aunt Natsuhi, and said it one more time. Red-faced and tear-streaked, Ava walked up to Natsuhi and grabbed her by the collar. Then wordlessly she slapped Natsuhi's cheek. Natsuhi, who had never been slapped in her life, was shocked by her first ever taste of iron. It turned into a scuffle between Ava and Natsuhi. Battler immediately tried to stop them, but Ava planted a sharp knee into Battler's gut and he doubled over. Sobbing, Ava kicked Natsuhi, who had fallen to the ground, over and over. Battler tried once more to cut in and stop them, but he was brushed aside. And after that, no one tried to stop them. Repeating her son and husband's names over and over, Ava kicked Natsuhi and kicked her. Then she started grabbing whatever her eyes fell upon and throwing it. Natsuhi was hit with a steaming teacup, then a can of black tea, whose tea leaves fell out all over her. She was kicked, her hair pulled and dragged up. Her cheek slapped so many times that it started to swell. So none of you are gonna stop this, huh? Just gonna let her wail on her, huh? It wasn't because they were worried about Ava kicking them too. It was because they thought it an appropriate act of retribution for a person who had lost her beloved son and husband. A proper retribution. A proper truth. Everyone in the parlor accepted that Natsuhi was the culprit. They accepted the truth that Erika claimed. So it became a proper truth that Natsuhi was designated as the proper culprit. She had already lost a husband and daughter who would have protected her. And even Kinzo, who should have given her a final bit of strength, had already vanished like a bubble in the ocean of illusions. No longer would anyone protect her. No longer would anyone believe her. So she was now the true culprit. Ava's shoulders heaved with her heavy breathing. Apparently her anger still hadn't abated. Erika patted Ava's shoulder and made her take a step back. Of course, this wasn't to protect Natsuhi from violence. It was to further humiliate her, now that she had been branded as the culprit.
夏日さん、私は3つの謎の2つを解きました。フーダニット、ハウダニット、そして最後の謎、ホワイダニットは犯人が自ら告白しなくてはならないと決まっています。どうかミステリーのルールに従い告白を。
The wide done it refers to the motive.
これが三流ミステリーなら、そろそろ夏日さんが高笑いを始めて罪を認め、悲しい過去話を始めるタイミングなのですが、まさかそれまで私がしなくてはなりませんか？
私は犯人じゃありません。誰か信じて。私は何者かに夫を人質に取られ、脅迫されて罠にはめられただけなんです。
Natsuhi, with her hair a mess and her face red and tear-streaked, protested to everyone, but no one met her gaze, because it had already been resolved that Natsuhi was the culprit, because Lambda Delta had acknowledged that the culprit of the tale was Natsuhi and woven it that way. None of the pieces would pay any heed to Natsuhi's, to the culprit's words.
夏日は犯人ではない。我こそは黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ。そなたらが夜の闇に怯えた年頃よりはるかに前から君臨する六軒島の夜の支配者。なぜわらわの罪とせぬか。なぜ夏日を疑うのか。わらわを認めよ。すべてはわらわの犯行ぞ。人間が犯人ということなど断じてあってはならぬわ。
The witch illusion had already been crushed, and Beato's voice didn't reach anyone. The verdict had already been announced. Everything had been decided.
聞こえてないわよ。あんたは幻。ただの幻想。お帰りなさい。ただの肖像画に。金像の幻想を親族が共有することによって生まれた儚い幻の魔女。それがこの世界の選んだ真実なのよ。さあ、大ラムダデルタ教。この魔女を語るおこがましき愚かな幻想を今こそ葬り去りたまえ。 さようなら、ベアトリーチェ。あなたを魔女にしたのは、私のお友達になれるか、私の退屈を紛らわしてくれるか、そのどちらかを期待したものよ。そしてあなたは期待に応えてくれたわ。後者のね。
わらわは魔女であるわ。ラムダデルタ教に認められずとも魔女であるわ。
私が後見人にならなかったら、それを信じることもできなかったくせに。さあ、あなたはこれでゲームオーバーよ。あなたを葬る方法は、あなたのゲーム版のルールに従ってあげる。あなたのゲームでは、敗者はどうなるんだっけ？
すでにベアトが過去のゲームで一度はっきりとそれを見せてくれてるわ。生きた肉の塊にしてヤギの晩餐会に放り込んで食い散らかされるのよ。ふさわしい最後だわ、ベアトリーチェ。高慢ちきなあんたの断末魔が聞きたくてはるばるこんなところまでやってきたのだから。
One by one, a massive number of unspeaking goat attendants slipped out from behind the pillars and began to fill the cathedral. The goats paid no attention to Natsu, who was seated in the center, but the crowd completely enveloped her. From Beato's point of view up on the balcony, it must have looked like a huge boiling of pot of goats.
そうであるな。もとよりそういう契約であったな。
そうよ。あなたが私を楽しませることができなくなったら、その身をもって私の退屈を慰めるのが私たちの契約。さあ、その女から魔女の座を奪い、ヤギの釜へ放り込みなさい。
Suddenly there were goats standing right behind Beato. They lifted her up roughly.
良い悲鳴を聞かせてね。あんたはこの日のために寝かせてきたワインよ。
ならばそれを聞かせるのがわらわの最後の一子であるわ。
やった、言わせたそれを捨て台詞にしてくれる子が聞かせてくれる悲鳴が最上級なのよ。落ちろ、ベアトリーチェ。
The goats carrying Beato no longer viewed her as their master, after holding her above the pot of clamoring goats, which were snorting heavily in anticipation. They threw Beato's slender body into the air. All at once, the squirming goats faced the heavens and raised their arms. It was almost as though devouring her flesh would allow them to forget their pain for just a short while. As she flew through the air, Beato tried to smile boldly, but it was so forced that it seemed even more pathetic. Greatly pleasing Burncastle. When Beato fell into the pot, the goats caught her. Of course, they didn't do it gently. The arms of the countless goats pulled at her flesh to keep it for themselves. They tried to tear her to bits. It didn't have to be flesh. Hair, fingernails, shoes, even bits of her dress worked just fine. The mouth of those goats were the gateway into hell. However, Beato was too big to pass through that gateway. They had to chew and tear her into bits small enough to fit into it. Beato let out a bold laugh. She laughed from inside the pot of goats. However, her expression was very different from the one she had intended. It was an expression not of a witch, but of a single human screaming out for the final time. Then the sea of goats parted. Delenar leapt forward, slicing all goats in her path with a single flash of her long sword. It was a thin slice, like cutting through butter. The goats were surprised by Delenar's sudden appearance and stepped back. In the center, Beatrice cowered in tatters, sobbing.
何の真似？異端審問官ドラノール。恐れながら申し上げます。 この判決に意義のある者がおります。
I was waiting.
そやつの名は、牛。
All of the goats stared at Battler.
当法廷の判決に何が不服で？再審請求にふさわしい新しい証拠を、真実をお持ちなのでしょうね。
I get it. Delenor's offering me a helping hand. If she hadn't jumped in here, it'd be all over. And I finally understand now how I'm supposed to fight. But it's that very understanding that makes me unable to fight. Because I know I can't win by simply countering Erika's truth. If I want to deny her truth, I'll need to present a different one. And I still don't have a clue of what that truth is.
時に癒せぬものはありません。時を費やせど至れぬ真実もまたありません。しかし全ての法廷は真実を決定するのに刻限を設けます。そしてその刻限までに至れぬ真実はもはや真実とはなり得ないのです。
Yeah, I know that. By now, everyone is certain that Aunt Natsuhi is the culprit. It might be too late now, even for the real truth. Aunt Ava's violence will probably go unstopped, and no one is even thinking about protecting Aunt Natsuhi. It's no longer a situation where we can say, oh, the truth will eventually be found. And in this world, even the time allotted to us to expose the truth is very short. It's already midnight, and the end of the game. The police won't come. The truth won't be revealed. Only the truth decided upon here and now will remain. I slowly stood up, walked in front of Beato, and faced Deleanor. I have no plan. I don't know the truth. However, if I don't jump in now, I won't get another chance to fight. The red used by Erika's group is mercilessly strict. I seriously doubt that I can put together a truth where Aunt Natsuhi isn't the culprit without violating that red.
何を頼りない顔をしているのです。情けない男です。
ちくしょう。
バトラー。
お前を殺すのは俺だ。その約束を俺は守りたい。なのに今の俺には何の策もない。
良いのだ。この世に真実などない。それは後から作られ上書きされるのだ。本当の真実なんてどこにもないのだ。ドラノール、素敵なシナリオだわ。やはりお姫様の処刑にはナイトが現れないと面白くない。そしてその眼前で弾頭を見せてやるのに勝るものなし。古き駒と用済みのプレイヤーたちをまとめて葬り去りなさ
い。良いです。大ベルンカステル教に栄光あれ。我こそは首席異端審問官ドラノール・エノックス。いざ参られい、後ろ宮バトラ。
こうなりゃ破れかぶれだ。俺のわらがけ見せてやる。
The only reason Erika's theory is so strong is because of those seals. She was given red so quickly just because Lambda Delta easily bought the alibis created by those seals. But the seals aren't red truth. Just sticking paper in a door crack is far from perfect. There's no way something like that can prove anything with certainty.
始めなさいバトラー。
い。愛しのベアトリーチェと一緒にヤギたちに肉片にされて混ぜこぜになってみる。ああ、そのひき肉にはあんたの大切な妹のひき肉も混ぜてあげるわ。素敵な合いびき肉になるでしょうよ。
皮に包んで蒸して小籠包にしてやっぱり醤油でしょ。
フライパンで焼いて卵を乗せてケチャップが最強よ。
ちくしょう。エリカお得意の封印の信頼性は疑えないのか。髪を挟むなんていい加減な方法で絶対のアリバイにはなりえないはず。偶然気づいた人間が元の位置に挟み直すことだってあったかもしれない。
The blade of my blue truth should have slashed diagonally through Delano's chest. However, Delano's expression didn't budge in the slightest, and there wasn't a single wound on her chest.
何が飛び出すかと思ったらバカバカしい。
私からご説明しましょう。私が扉を封印していたのはこれ。バトラさんはこれ紙だと思ってたんですか？
Erica once again held up the thing that looked like a brown
こ
paper.
れガムテープです。それも非常に粘着力のある。それにハサミを入れ切れやすくしてあります。それにさらに切れ目、扉と枠部の3箇所に模写不可能な私のサインにて割り印がしてあります。よって痕跡を残さずに剥がすことも貼り直すことも一切できないわけです。
抜刀申請石剣。
What was that sound? Hold on. Every time I hear that sound. The Red Key, a weapon of emergence used by official inquisitors belonging to Eisern Jungfrau, Delano's primary weapon. Unlike a normal weapon whose purpose is to cause physical damage, this special tool is known as a conceptual weapon and it's used to deny the existence of concepts. Alright. Primary weapon used by, yep, like the Red Key is a conceptual weapon, but instead of denying the existence of concepts, it is used to create self-doubt and forces others to deny themselves. For this reason, it's called the Blue Key of Reflection, in contrast with the Red Key of Judgment. Unlike the Red Key, it is possible to evade and defend against it. However, while the Red Key has severe restrictions regarding how it can be used, the Blue Key can be wielded with great ease and used at will in all situations. Furthermore, because the shape of the conceptual weapons is also purely conceptual, their outward appearance differs depending on the individual Inquisitor. In Delano's case, they appear as a long sword and a short sword, but some use them in the form of spears or guns, while others make them take shape as phenomena such as magic or miracles. The red and blue charms used by Gertrude and Cornelia are yet another shape taken by these keys. Okay, kinda get it.
Shonin.
以上により封印の完全性は保証されました。
But they're not inherently perfect. She just explained they weren't. They can't be reproduced. That's also a lie, but I get it.
ミスエリカの封印は何者にも破れずごまかすことはできないのです。
エリカの封印は認めよう。だがエヴァおばさんがした源氏さんの部屋の封印は違うはずだ。
エヴァの封印もミスエリカの封印と同一のものです。この封印方法はミスエリカとエヴァが晩餐後に共同で考案したものだからです。
エリカは科学捜査に用いるとか言ってじいさまの部屋の薬物をいろいろと漁ったな。その薬物の中に例えば溶剤があったかもしれない。それを使えば爪の痕跡を残さずにきれいにガムテープを剥がすことも可能かもしれない。
金慶、謹んで申し上げる。全ての封印はいかなる方法でも痕跡を残さずに剥がすことは不可能なり。
金慶、謹んで申し上げる。全ての封印には
不審な一切の痕跡はなきにけり。
以上により封印に何らかの工作が行われたことがないことが証明されます。